sleep. So anyway, what's next? Property, land patents, titles. How do you own houses? How do they steal your property?
So title, how does that work? Is that like just required, or how would you do it in a car?
Oh, I did write.
Something, I kind of. Just a little bit of
We skipped right over stuff. What's longer? Should we jump right around? MSO, MCO. Manufacturer's statement of origin or manufacturer's certificate of origin. It depends on the manufacturer and where the car is manufactured. Okay? A statement. In the United States, most of our car manufacturers use the MSO, manufacturer's statement of origin.
Or manufacturer. What's the C stand for again?
In Europe, you buy a BMW, a Volvo, something like that, as a manufacturer's certificate of origin. Okay?
You have to go to your state.
Well,
SVP up.
here's another issue. If I walk into a Chevy dealer and I want to buy a brand new Chevy Silverado diesel pickup, crew cab, long bed, I whip out $75,000 in cash and I set it down on the table. And I buy a truck. And I'm smiling, I'm happy. And the salesman looks at me and says, oh, I need another $185 for title, registration, and licensing fees. If I just whip out another $185 and I hand it to him, or whatever the amount is, that's when I gave my $75,000 truck to the state. But at that point in time, I owned it for that brief second. Okay? But if I just pay that $185, I gave it away. It was a gift to the state in exchange for a lease, which gives you the opportunity to make a profit and incur a loss. That's what it says. The opportunity to make a profit and incur a loss. In other words, you might be able to sell it for a profit, or you might lose $20,000 when you drive off the lot. Okay. That's how they look at it. As soon as they have this in their hand, they can require you to be a driver of that motor vehicle. They can require you to provide insurance and to follow all rules, codes, statutes, and ordinances. They can do basically whatever the heck they want. So one of the keys to truly being free is to get your MSO or MCO.
And how do you do that?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. Texas is pretty easy. Every state's going to be different.
Okay.
Some states are going to fight the heck out of you, like New York. They do. But I go into the DMV in Oregon and I ask for a chain of title report, especially if I bought a used vehicle. I ask for a chain of title report, so I know everybody that's ever held title, and I want to clear back to the original MSO. And that's what I ask for, and that's what I pay them to provide. I get that. They don't know how smart I am, so I switch it all around, and I put the MSO on the top, and the newest title on the bottom, instead of the other way around. And then I take it to the Secretary of State's office, and I ask them to authenticate it. Authenticate my record. Once they authenticate it, they bind it, they put their seal on it, it's authenticated. I now have an authenticated copy of the MSO.
What?
It's as good as an original. Okay. Keep
Where
it
did
in my
you do
glove
that at? You went
box.
to the Secretary of State? Where'd you go to get where'd you take it to get it authenticated?
Secretary of
Secretary
State
of
of the state of
State.
Oregon, and ask for it to be authenticated. They don't know I went through the back door, and now I have a sworn, true, original copy of the MSO. They don't know I have that. Yeah.
So is that before
Now,
you put
every,
yourself as
again,
title?
every state's might be different. That's
You-
what I did in Oregon.
Do you put yourself as title owner, or just it's a brand new truck with no owner?
You do a change of title affidavit. It says I own it, and I own it all the way back to the MSO. Here it is.
Right, but once you
It's in
have
my
the,
possession
once you
now.
have the MSO, yeah.
Understand, the minute they authenticate it, I have an original copy of the MSO. They made it an original copy of the MSO.
Yeah, you said you switched it around. You switched
No, all I did is put the MSO on the top
it. Right.
of the stack. So I just changed the order.
Oh.
Now,
Okay. So
they're
you
gonna
didn't
give you
mess
back
with that.
every title of every owner that has ever had that car. I don't care if the car's been sold 20 times or twice, doesn't matter.
Okay.
There might be 2 pages in that document. But the fact of the matter is, now you have an original MSO.
Sure. And they'll stamp the first page.
Now, you fall under UCC 9-109.
Wait,
He likes the UCC code.
UCC or USC?
UCC is Uniform
Say it
Commercial
again.
Code.
The
Oh,
909.
commercial.
No,
So
that's
Uniform
what-
Commercial
that's
Code, that goes
what
into
it's
international law.
personal-
And
personal
USA
property
is
because,
directly
yeah.
for the
Yeah,
United
if
States.
you got the
Right, that's one of the
MSO.
vehicles, why would it be UCC?
Because
it's
everything's
commercial.
under international law.
Huh?
It's all international
It's
law.
all international law.
Everything is?
Everything is.
307
I thought you said this stuff is USC.
USC is code, United States code.
Yeah.
It's the employees code.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, but okay, because I thought I heard it was UCC, and I'm like,
UCC,
now I'm gonna have to change my brainwashing to USC. Okay, so there is
It's
the
both.
commercial
There's
and
two.
UCC. I got you.
You never know.
What
That's
is
why
that
some
code that it
get
falls
picked
under
up and
now?
some of
The
them don't.
UCC, what did you just say?
Uniform Commercial.
No, what code was it?
I missed it.
Your state's gonna be different from mine. You're gonna have to do the research, figure it all out, and do it. You can contact your Department of Transportation, you don't have to sign. You just do an affidavit. It says I
So I can do that.
own all titles back to the original MSO. Here's my authenticated copy. See, that's why the dealer has to send that to DMV. You're not supposed to touch it. Once you have one that you can touch, it's yours, it's authenticated. Doesn't matter.
But don't they still think they own your vehicle, don't they? They still have it in their little possession that they,
Does not matter.
because you have that, you don't need the registration now.
You don't need anything. Throw your registration in that car out the window. Throw your plates out the window. You
What
don't
was
need anything.
Code number again?
UCC 9-109. It makes it
109.
personal household property. What's that? 9-109. Okay.
Okay. What if you already have a vehicle that they already own? You already have one and you've owned it for 10 years.
So
They've
did
already
I.
got but as long as I have that, I can just, okay, because you said if you buy it brand new, but according to them, they already own my truck.
Yeah, that was a story I was telling to show you when they steal your vehicle from you.
Right.
The minute you pay that $185.
So once your vehicle's already been stolen, then
You don't pay that, is what he's saying.
just quit paying it.
Just don't pay
If you
that.
go to the dealer, you say, no, I don't need to write you that check for $185. I'm going to export it.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna
And I'm going to
export.
export it from the state of Oregon to Oregon.
Yeah.
The minute I drive off that lot.
That makes more sense.
Okay,
See, that's what you tell them at the dealership.
okay, but what if?
But you're talking about after the fact.
Yeah,
So you just do what I said. Go to DMV, pay for a complete title search back to the original MSO or MCO. Get the photocopies of it, and then take it to the Secretary of State, get it authenticated, and just reverse the order so it's on top. Now, because they're going to make a book out of it,
okay,
all official like. And just keep that in your glove box. Now you have proof that you own it.
Okay.
You're gonna put it in the actual.
Sure. Do that via your affidavit, how you hold title. So you just a little affidavit attached, you're done. Okay.
I was right with you till affidavit attached. What were you doing to seal the deal?
You got a chain of title.
Yeah.
If you have a used car that 3 or 4 owners have owned, you do an affidavit that I purchased this car from them. They purchased this car from them. They purchased this car from this dealership. And this dealership got the original MSO, MCO. So this is my chain of title. I swear and attest to it under penalty of perjury. Sign your name to it. Put it with the book. Now it's your personal property. Did we cover our public servants account?
No.
The claim that I was talking about, went through that. That's how you make your claim. You ask for a prosecution. If they deny to prosecute, then you can prosecute. That's the best way to hold them accountable, to get that process started. Now, if the state court denies it, you move it to the federal court. Really easy.
How could they?
President Trump made that very easy for us to do.
So wait, that was for our public servants that you were talking, Bob Schmidt. Bob Smith.
Any public servants, yeah.
So
I
you can
don't
make-
care if it's your city commissioner. Anybody acting as a public servant,
The judges,
judges, police officers, any of them.
I thought with Trump's new act or, the executive
You
order.
can
they
go right
signed,
to
I
federal.
thought you can just go right to federal
You can.
without even having to deal with this.
You can.
Okay.
But
what I heard.
let me tell you something about that. Usually a federal courthouse is somewhere else. It's highly inconvenient to most of America. The reason our founding fathers designed a government like this is because the government starts at our townships and ranges, our town, where we live. If I want to go to my lawmakers in my town, I get in my car and I drive right over there, and it costs me $5 in gas. And I can speak my piece and make my point. If I got to go to my county, I might have to drive to another city 30, 40 miles away. It costs me $20, $30 in gas, a day off work, whatever, and I go speak and I make my piece. So that it goes to county. Then where's it go? State. Maybe my state capital, like in my case, is 3 hours away. If I want to go speak to my legislature, I got to take the day off, get up early in the morning, might get home late at night, and it might cost me $100 in gas. Okay? And maybe, if it's a long session, I got to rent a hotel, stay overnight, and come back. Okay? Where's it go from there? Federal. Now, if I want to make my case, where's the nearest federal courthouse? If my house is 4 hours away, 4.5 hours away in Portland, okay, might cost me more money. But if I really got to make my case and I want to do it in front of our federal legislators, I got to go to Washington, D.C. Chances are I got to bring 20 or 30 friends with me in order to get heard. In order to get heard. Now it costs me $2,500 times 20 or 30 of my friends. So our federal government knew that we the people would have the greatest voice if we had a bottom-up form of government. Now, they flipped it on our ear, and you got the federal government up here, state, county, local, we'll call it. And that's what's wrong with America today. It was designed like this, and now it's like that. Yeah, they mirrored They mirror everything, reverse it. And that's how the laws work, and that's the problem. Okay. Started with bottom-up form of government, and now we're top down. And it makes it harder for people to stand up and speak out.
So when putting your name in these documents, do I need it to be like my middle name, full name?
Told you how I recommend it.
Oh, right, that. So my middle name, is that the dash that I could do? Yeah.
Like your first, your middle, that's your given names.
Should you do your maiden plus your like married, maiden and married name, or just maybe married name? When you write out the whole thing.
I guess some people do it 2 ways.
Yeah.
You can do a dash.
There's
You're whoever you say you are.
Yeah, you can do that on your last name if you want.
You put a space in between the colon and the period, in between Gene and Miller, or no space, just
I put a space.
when you type it. Okay,
Put a space.
so it looks weird. when it's typed.
Huh?
It looks, right, I typed it and it looked a little weird, it was close without the space, okay.
I think 2 periods together means something else.
What's that?
I think if 2 periods were together, it's a conflict of meaning as well. I think you have to have the space between the periods.
Yes, you do.
So if you say I, comma, colon, Bonnie, blah, 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 Smith, colon, comma, here declare my rights as you put commas in between, and because that, right, you'd use commas still, correct? Outside
You
the,
can put a space and a comma over here.
yep, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't need, well, Bonnie Smith.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you can do that too. You can do I.
What was it? It's called, they said?
What's that called again, the proper English that gets used to?
Comes out of the Chicago Styles Manual.
Chicago style, that's what I did.
Don't ask me why. There was actually an Oxford Styles Manual that was pretty darn good. But when I compared it to the Chicago one, there wasn't much difference. The Chicago one just did a better job of explaining. So, and as far as I know, those are the only two that exist.
It's the debate about the Oxford comma.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's how the
Yeah.
debate with the Oxford.
Yeah, I saw that's where it came from.
Yeah. So. What next? Here for you guys. Huh? Don't get them.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't. Guys, I'm still dumb afterwards.
She got her loans and she's still dumb.
Still dumb. I was saying.
Yeah.
You guys
That's
are
why I
Waste
never got
money,
any.
you're gonna
Oh, school,
propagate the
wait,
school
yeah.
system.
Ignorance is bliss.
We have a family friend who purchased a property that we live in, or live on, and we have a land contract. We're debating, since they get the tax breaks, since we can't claim it on our taxes or stuff like that, we're debating we should just go in and get a regular loan so that we can get the tax breaks, but I don't want the tax liability.
Okay, let me understand this. You have a property
No.
and you sold it to them.
No, we have a friend who purchased a property that we live on, and we treat it as if it's our home. It's a land contract. We have a land contract, or a rent with option, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
To where we live on the property, maintain it,
So technically, you're buying it from him.
from them, and they're acting as the bank, and we're paying 2% interest instead of, 5 or 6 or whatever, so we're paying. But we don't get we can't go get a loan on the property to put a new garage on or whatever, so we're debating if we should just go get a.
I would recommend you don't do that, even if you could.
What's that?
Go get a loan and build a garage.
Okay.
Save us money. on
Save up the money and go build a garage.
It costs a lot less.
Garages are cheap to build anyway.
Yeah, I know, it's like
Yeah.
$8,000.
Yeah. Spend a little extra time, save it, go do it, own it.
Because we thought about seeing if they were willing to help us get the garage drawn and then just put it on the back end of the agreement,
Stay out of debt, especially with banks. Because they will find a reason to take it from you.
We're on 2 acres, I'm not sure they would, we're on.
Yeah.
What about establishing domicile and not being part of the British Land Trust and actually owning the land?
You're an inhabitant.
Yes. Okay. So once that's established and status is corrected, you could actually own my house.
All property shall be in land patent. All property shall be described in metes and bounds. Let's run through a scenario. Husband and wife goes and buys a piece of property, the house of their dreams, first time homeowner. They're ready. They sign their mortgage documents, they're sitting in a title office, and they're all done, and the title officer says, only one thing left, how would you guys like to hold title? And the husband and wife look at each other like, I don't know, what are our options? Title officer smiles and says, because this is what she's trained, most husband and wives hold title in joint tenants in common. And the husband and wife looks at each other and says, okay, that sounds good. And they leave. And the title officer fills out the documentation and records the mortgage paperwork and the new deed under joint tenants in common. Joint is husband and wife, tenants is renter, common is state. You're a joint renter of the state forever. You just gave away your property. Suck you. Now in reality, you gave it away maybe 3 owners ago. Maybe 3 or 4 owners ago gave that property away. Because that property started out in land patent. Land patents cannot be bought or sold. They can only be granted. That means a grant deed. I owned 2 mortgage companies and 20% of the title company at one time. The grant deed passes down to their heirs, successors, and/or assigns. Their heirs, successors, and/or assigns. Now, if I wanted to get a little compensation from that, I just write a contract to my son. He buys my property, I grant it to him, and we call it good. It's a private contract between 2 men. Okay? Maybe it was for $20 in silver. Doesn't matter. Okay? But it was granted. Land is everything from the dirt down, all its minerals. It goes all the way up and includes the sky. But the improvements, everything from the dirt up, minus the sky and the trees, any improvements are real estate. anything that's a estate passes through probate. So a real estate agent shows up 10 years later after that husband or wife wants to sell their property and move into a bigger and better house. The real estate agent is selling the house. She's showing the house. She's explaining the features of the house. And they sell the house, the improvements. And the land gets given away in an abstract of title. Probably a warranty deed. What is warrant? A declaration of war.
So you have a, basically, piece of toilet paper.
You have an abstracted title,
Yeah,
a lease.
some abstract.
And the state owns your property because you hold the title in joint tenants in common. Common is the state. Common.
This is heartbreaking.
Okay, hold on a minute. There's a way to get around this.
Always the same answers.
Joint tenants in common. The state owns the property. You've got an abstracted title. Look up the word abstract in your Black's Law. You'll see it's not a real deed. Okay? It's not a real deed. All land patent must be granted. All land must be held land patent and described in metes and bounds. But somewhere along the line, somebody from the county came out, like a county plot manager or a plat surveyor comes out and he says, wait a minute. This is lot 27 of block 3 of Spring Hill subdivision, located in Wooddale, Illinois. And he re-described your property. Took it out of the metes and bounds. Then he assigned a lot, block, and tax number instead of a land patent number. And then he put it in your all caps name with your postal address, with your zip code, taking your property out of the state of Illinois and placing it in Washington, D.C. in the district. And they just stole your property on behalf of the state.
Can't you get it back?
Yep. We only have 2 jobs in life: to correct the errors our public servants make and to educate them so that they never do it again. So we get our property tax statement in the mail and it's an invoice, right? It's an invoice. And on that invoice, it says your name in all capital letters. And it says your address with your zip code. And it says it's industrial, commercial, or residential property. No, it's private property. Those 3 are commercial terms. Even the word residential is a commercial term because resident is someone there temporarily to do business. It's got a lot, block, and tax number. It's got all, the whole thing is filled with errors. And you write them a cute little check, because somewhere down here it says you owe $2,000 for your taxes out here. And you write them a cute little check for $2,000 and you mail it in, you just acquiesce to the theft. They presumed and assumed that you acquiesced. They screwed it all up. You don't own your property.
you just paid $2,000 as a tenant, a renter to the state to rent your property. To rent, the opportunity to make a profit and cure a loss.
You get a
Okay.
rodeo title,
What?
a rodeo title.
It's right there. Okay. So, what do? You find out the exact location on the map that your piece of property is on, if you got a city lot. Underneath that city lot, probably in a piece of property that was 320 acres at one time, could have been 640, was an underlying land patent that existed. I just did one for a guy in the state of Pennsylvania, and it was the most beautiful land patent I'd ever seen. It was land patent number 402, signed by John Adams.
Wow. Wow.
John Adams' original signature was on his land patent. So you go to the Bureau of Land Management office with the location, and you've got to find out your township and range. So you might have to go to your county cartographer's office to get that. And you probably want to do a title history search going back to the last grant deed. And then you will have your meets and bounds.
What are these around?
This property is located in this township of this range, starting from a point right here, 143 feet to this corner, and 127 feet to this corner, and 300 feet to this corner, and back and so forth.
So that's the technical.
Yes, is the actual description of the property.
It says all that in my, whatever, not deed, but it has the meets and bounds in it, so that's,
But
it
no,
doesn't
we
make
know.
it a land patent, it just tells you
No,
that
you're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
That's what, basically just what the surveyor did.
You have to have the meets and bounds. All property shall be described in meets and bounds. You have to have the original land patent. So now that you have the location of the property, the township and range, you go to the Bureau of Land Management and you say, I would like to pay for 4 original certified copies of the original underlying land patent on this property. Now, there's one little thing you're gonna have to add in here. Because your property, let's say this is the land patent, and this is your property. That land patent covered 320 acres, and now there's 1,000 homes on that 320 acres. Right? You're gonna have to say, in between your meets and bounds and the land patent, you're gonna have to say a part and parcel thereof. So it's land patent number, whatever, I'll use his, 420. John Adams signed. Land patent number 420. A part and parcel thereof described as township range, meets and bounds, this distance to that distance. And now you've got the proper lawful description of your property. Now you're gonna have to say, this is private property, not industrial, commercial, or residential. It's private property. And my name is this, is the correct spelling. And you can go back to your RC syntax if you want. Write it correctly. And my address is in care of Rural Route or Rural Free Delivery, 61037 Drop Road, Bend, Oregon, 97702. Now, you take the zip code off, you put zip exempt, and you spell out the word Oregon. You don't use O-R or I-L.
I heard a lot of computer programs force you to put in a zip code so you can say near this, so it's near some fictitious environment.
Some of them do, but in this case, you're gonna leave it off. You're gonna say zip exempt. You're gonna fill out an affidavit sworn under the penalty of perjury that all the information is true and correct. You're a public servant, you've been making a whole bunch of mistakes. Clerical errors on your part, I will not hold you accountable.
No?
But here's the corrected information. Please don't let it ever happen again. And you record it for the county. In that case, that's a good thing to be. Okay? And you go get it recorded under the proper land patent number. And you know what?
Will it change land
The
patent?
county recorder is supposed to notify the county tax assessor and ask them to remove it from the tax rolls.
What if they don't do that?
Yeah, what if they don't do it?
Can you hold them
Did for
accountable?
me.
Is that a mistake that you can govern your public service and remedy?
Right here's, once you hold the original land patent and a proper grant deed, you gotta prepare the deed. I mean, there's a process of doing all this.
All this looks deep, yeah, but
You've got to post your property for 90 days, you've got to publicly publish along the way. You've got to notify anyone in your chain of title that's a previously owner that if they have any security interest whatsoever to please come forward, you have 30 days to do so.
chain of title.
Yeah. Yeah. I suggest getting Ron Gibson's land patent book.
I checked that. Not about a month ago, because I wanted to know about iPad.
Ron's going to be in Austin next weekend with me teaching land patent book
When?
next week, Austin, Texas. On Sunday, part of the day. So,
Who's the author of that book? Who's the author of that book?
Ron Gibson
For the,
is one of my fellow Oregonians. Yeah. Man, now you learned how to do your property, your car,
Marriage.
marriage.
Doubled in 6 months to get paid.
Well, what about,
What about owning a business? 'Cause I thought about starting a business, so,
Okay.
Still register with the state.
yeah, but I wanna open up like an
You
indoor
trust.
amusement park,
Hold on.
so.
I'll answer that question. Okay, remember yesterday I told you the story about Gina Nielsen getting her out of jail? So her stopping her from going to jail? Okay. She owns a child's gymnasium. Probably 3 times the size of this room. Huge child's gymnasium. County's been giving her hell because, see, Gina has always been an outspoken person. And she's always stood up against it, but she didn't know how. And so she started to learn how. When she was speaking out against them, that's the reason they were coming after her. Okay. Now she knows how. I helped her set her whole business up as a PMA, Private Membership Association. All her employees in the gymnasium are owners, they're PMAs. They own. All the kids that come into her gymnasium, all the parents sign a PMA. It's for private members only. On the front door, it says public not allowed. Private members only. Now
That's how
what?
you thought that way.
The county stopped hassling her. They wanted her to pay personal property tax on every piece of gymnasium equipment, mat in place. And they were coming after her personal property taxes on all that stuff. Not anymore.
Oh, yeah.
she's not a
Person anymore.
No, but her business and everything is a private membership association. It's not a business.
Stop using them.
Only members can go there. So the kids pay the same fee they always did, but now it buys them a private membership.
private one-day membership?
Yeah.
So you think
Where do you think he
Costco,
learned it?
you think Costco's getting out of, not out of, but you think Costco's gonna do that or
Oh, yes.
capitalizing?
Oh, yes.
It's brilliant.
So Costco and Sam's are,
They're not, no,
PMAs.
Those two, there's a lot of them.
PMAs, private memberships.
They make over.
Guess what?
Membership too. For the profit rate.
Trying to look up Costco's business license with the state.
So they don't pay tax. but they
There is
pay
none.
tax. We pay sales tax on there. Going out there. Is it, do you ever done that?
That's,
Gonna change your status?
sales tax on you.
Yeah,
I'm
me.
on Costco.
No, not my process.
Right. They don't care.
So,
They just collect it on behalf of the state.
how do I avoid sales tax?
What's that?
How do I avoid it?
Move to Oregon? We have nothing for it.
I'll work on that.
I'll pick you up on my way.
Can I move in? No, I'm just kidding. I do it to him.
If you're coming.
10-year lease.
Okay, that brings up a good point. See, here's the problem. This is what the state did that really, for the first time in our lives, screwed us big time. Is they reduced the age of getting a driver's license from 18 to 16 on purpose.
So you contract before.
So you contract before.
But I thought it was null and void.
Hold on a minute. They did it on purpose. Here's what they did. They led children in school to believe that if they get their permit and drive with their parents for a year, then they get their driver's license, they could drive without their parents in the car. How great is that? At 16. See, if they're traveling with a passport, they could have started their permit process at 14 with a passport. But their parents had to be in the car until they were 18. So the key is to drive without your parents at 16, you need a driver's license. So see how the state manipulated every child into doing that? Because the first thing the child wants is their parents the hell out of the car,
First thing we want is.
yeah.
Very true.
And that's one of the first instances in our lives that they start roping us into that system.
But is it because the parents are signing it on their behalf because the parents have to be there to get their driver's license? I believe they signed it.
Well, of course they do. But they talk the kids into it, the kids have been bugging the parents for a year now. Can't wait till I'm 16. Yeah. Why don't you just get their passport? At 14 years old, they can start driving with you in the car.
Are they going to get an e-driver's license pretty soon with the times?
They would never, said to
They're going to
get,
get rid of driver's license?
well, I
As far as
certainly
driving?
hope so, but I don't see it in the foreseeable future.
You need 14 still. Who cares about 14 if you're doing it on hell? Because they want to issue a passport.
Right.
Yeah. No, you get it for that.
No.
It's,
You travel under your parents' passport before 14. At 14, you get a passport.
yeah, but he got it at under 15. I guarantee you. He does. It's
Well,
still
they'll give them a
tied to
card.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
yeah. Technically, they don't get their own passport until 14. So, I mean, they'll give them some kind of ID to travel with their parents.
School ID.
Okay, but just for the sake of why we're here, that's still asking permission.
But it's, if
It's
you're,
chasing it about as far as we possibly could.
Right.
Okay.
you still have to have big, or, you know, papers, the big boys and stuff, right? And have it.
Okay.
So,
Make sure you don't want to help with my student loans.
Yeah, well, we can talk about student loans. Student loans are government-backed securities.
Absolutely. I'm not, I refuse. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. Not only that, they're under compound interest rates.
They doubled in 6 months. It went from $42,000 to almost $90,000.
I went through college, I had student loans, I paid on them for years and years and years and years and years and years, and the balance hardly ever dropped. I finally walked in with $18,500 and I paid it off.
My dad did the military, the GIA bill. That's how he went through college because his dad died at a young age and then his mom couldn't afford college, so he just said, I'm going to join the military to do the GIA
And that's how
bill."
my son did it too.
Yeah, very good, I thought.
okay, so we know how to get the vehicles into our own names, our private names. We know how to get, the houses, except do the houses work if you don't fully own them yet. If you're,
Actually,
if they're mortgaged through the bank, that's a problem, but if they're mortgaged through non-bank. or
actually, they do, it does work even if you have a mortgage.
Through a bank,
Yes.
you
through
can
a
still do all of this and the bank will just stay out of it, they'll, or do you
Not
have to involve
necessarily.
them? Because they hold the title until,
No, they don't have anything. They don't have the title, they don't have any legal documentation, they don't have any paperwork, they don't have any legal signatures.
well, they have the first
They
lien
don't
on
have
the
any
home.
legal nothing. Every mortgage in this country is a fraud. Every single one of them. Every documented mortgage is a fraud. The only reason they get away with foreclosing on people is because the judge will sign with the bank every time, even if you go in there and prove fraud, because the judge will get sued for patent infringement if he doesn't. The fraud of a mortgage is patented through the United States Patent and Trademark Office under the MERS Act. Read the MERS patent. The whole process of fraud is patented that they can do that. So now,
what's wrong with it? They're loaning you money so that you can buy something that you can't afford.
They're not loaning you.
they're not loaning you anything.
Well, they're taking title of the house until
No,
you pay
they're
it
not
off.
taking title of the house.
Well, you can't afford the house you're living in.
No. They have a trustee that's not a title to a house.
Okay,
They don't own the house. They
Okay.
never own the house.
you have title to the house, that's true, okay.
No, the state actually does. But yeah, you're a joint tenant common.
True, okay.
Okay,
But the house has this value,
it has a value, whatever somebody's willing to pay,
right?
but the mortgage on it is not a title to the house. It's not a deed. It's a trust deed. Trust deed is an abstract title. They've lied to you, they convinced you about the whole ball of wax, and every bit of it's fraud. If you're a bank, what are you? You're a business.
Well, but you had to borrow money to build your buildings
Yeah,
on the
well,
house, right?
Well,
If you got a
they're
loan.
messing with you.
Well, like you told them, don't
The
get a
bank
loan.
is a business. This is a
Right.
bank building, okay?
Okay.
We're gonna pretend.
Okay.
My bad drive, bank. Okay,
Sounds legit.
it's a bank building, it's a business. The business has shareholders. And because it's a bank, it has depositors. When they lent you $500,000 to buy your property, did they get it from their shareholders' accounts? No. Did they get the money from their depositors' accounts?
No, they created a bank.
No. They didn't do either one. They created a note based on your credit. Is your credit report called a credit report or a debit report? If it's a list of your debts, it should be a debtor report. It's called a credit report because it's your full faith and credit of your Cesta QV trust that backs every bit of money in this country.
So are you saying the bank borrowed the money out of your system?
Remember, yes. Remember
Okay.
the loan from the IMF?
Yes,
They issued upon your birth,
Okay.
$630,000, threw it into the
Yes.
Paid twice, from your trust and then from you.
I get it. Okay, now, I have a different situation.
10 times.
Yes.
My loan wasn't from a bank. Mine is a private loan.
Okay, now you're talking something totally different.
Well, that's what
That's
I
an
mean, I
agreement
thought I'd hear
between
that
two
through because I
men.
wanted to know about that,
Right.
but mine is between two people. Yeah, so mine's not a bank.
Honor your debts between them.
Yes. Yeah, but as far as that, so let's say, and I would never, that's why I'm asking, like lawful, like the right thing to do. Can I still, because I still hold my title, but I do owe them, can I still make it my private land though, even if I don't own 100% of it?
He holds a security interest, a note
Okay,
on your
Okay,
He can take it back.
so they're a
Even
lien,
if
they're,
you own it.
right, they're a lien holder, so they would be one of the people in the chain of titles that I would have to let know because they own a lien on, I mean, technically, if I still owe them.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
They actually have more rights than a bank does.
Yeah, and they're way better to me than a bank is, so.
That's Most of the time. So anyway, they do not get the money out of their shareholders or the deposit accounts. It's a bookkeeping entry. It's based off your assessed QB trust. You have
Wow.
millions of dollars in interest. Millions.
Are you gonna talk to us tomorrow about doing something with that trust? Is that the advanced class? Or are you gonna make us, have you come back because you like it so much?
No, we can talk about it tomorrow. What did you say?
Oh, goodness.
A lot of elderly people,
Oh my
do that. They
gosh.
built up a lot of equity, they need cash, they need a way to survive, they do a reverse mortgage. They get paid a mortgage payment, and the bank gets the property when you die.
Unless you can pay back the amount that you're borrowing, right?
Unless you can pay back the amount.
For
Oh.
instance, my grandmother, her house is probably worth 1.2, just because it's in Jersey and the tax free. She has taken out 550 of equity of the 12 or 1.2 that she's taken, so I have to pay that 550 in order to get that house.
Right. And that can be done through her estate and probate or whatever. Or do it right before she dies.
Is there a way to do things, for her to do things without having to give half of it to the government?
It's like a life insurance policy. The bank, when they do a reverse mortgage, is betting on how long you're gonna live. Because if you live a whole long time, let's say you lived 150, and they're paying out $2,000
Yeah.
a month till you're 150 years old.
Regardless of the equity that you built up? So they still pay that, God, I need to keep her alive.
Yes.
She's gonna outlive me, but still.
Then they end up paying 3-4 times for that house what it was worth.
Right,
They go off actuarial tables, they're not gonna lose money.
right.
So they're only gonna pay out what they're betting on you, how long you're gonna live.
What about HTR 192, all debts are paid? Why doesn't that play into everything?
Because that was rescinded.
Rescinded?
Yeah.
By who? Ow.
HDR 192 was revoked. No longer exists, but you still have USC 50.
So where does the money come from when you sell a house? You get paid by who? Where's the money come from when you sell a house?
From the other person's.
Or a trust? They take the money out of the other people that are buying the house. The money comes out of their trust.
You're assuming that they've got a bank loan, that it's coming out of their trust. If they paid cash, the cash was still a bank loan. You understand that, right? The IMF, when they were born, lent the public charitable trust $630,000 if they were born before 1975. Okay? That was cash thrown out into the public. At 18, we go out and gather some up. We earn it. We gather it up. We hold on to it. We go spend some for a house, some for a car, some for utilities, whatever, right? They keep track of it all. Those are legal tendering the debt to a later date. So even if I take out $10,000 and pay off a note I have with you, it doesn't discharge the note. I write it down on my taxes and I paid the bill off, or my bank knows that I withdrew the money and paid the debt off. Some bean counter puts it down on paper and it's kept track of. Everything I gathered was kept track of. W-4, 1099, 1040, on and on and on. Name a number, they probably got a form with that number on it. They keep track of everything. So everything you spend your entire life, they keep track of. And it all tenders it till probate, till a later date. Then it's paid out of the investment side, the credit side of your Cessna QB trust.
I'll let you look. Did you say USC or UCC?
USC 50. A balance sheet, debits, credits, 630,000, 630,000 U.S. Treasury bonds on the credit side. This becomes our investment account under our CUSIP number of our birth certificate. This grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. This debt stays at $630,000 until we go out and earn and start spending more and more and more. Whatever we spend goes on this side. We die, probate happens, they take what's in here, they pay this back to the IMF. Whatever's left, they reinvest, they create it lives on a perpetuity forever, they create a sweep account, any interest earned off that, funds government. Accounting practices.
Where do you get this information? Where do you get this information from? Where do you find out more about this? How that all works? Where's
In 1935, when they set up the Social Security Trust Fund, they set up all this stuff. They set this amount of 630,000 insured for 1 million. In 1975, any child born in 1975 on, I think it was June 30th on, it went up to 1 million and 2 million insurance laws.
But he was asking, where do you get this information? Where did you get the information from? Where did you first find
Acts
it?
of Congress. The acts of Congress that created this whole system. The Cesta QV Trust Act, on and on and on. Act after act after act after
So you
act.
said,
Where do you find all the, are those acts all in one place?
National Archives. I've read every act of Congress that has ever written. I've read every presidential speech, every United States code, every law book, every state constitution, every Supreme Court decision, up until about 5 years ago, and then they decided to move enough of that,
Oh, efficient.
right?
Wow.
Acts.
Yeah, well, it's an act.
so at what point, what year did you say were Congress, everything that they did?
Correct.
What year was that?
35.
Since 1861.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
However,
Okay, but they're still doing it.
however,
Right, they're the authority.
there's a lot of people consenting. And so they're
Wait,
gonna
what
keep
was in
it
1861?
As long as people consenting.
Congress is no
The
longer,
law is no
they weren't the proper
That's right.
ratio for the
It all-
representation.
Oh, yeah.
All boils
It
down
was in
to
1861.
your
So everything
consent.
beyond that is not
Yeah.
valid, in a sense. But we consent to it.
Okay, question, back to the houses. So let's say I have a private loan, and so what, well, let's say you have a bank loan, so which is fake, what does someone do if that's a fraudulent loan? Because there's always still the loophole for me to go from the private loan to the bank loan and then do whatever loophole you need to do to get out of their fraudulent act. And, right?
You can't get out of the fraudulent act anymore. Look at Renee Powers. My God, she's a wonderful lady. I've known her for years, and she's been in the foreclosure process for 10 years or more. She's taken it to the California Supreme Court. She's going to federal Supreme Court now. She has proved the fraud over and over and over and over and over again, and they literally admit you've proven it's fraud. So we're siding with the bank.
Oh.
I foreclosed when I was very young, and I found out that it was Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac that hold all of it. I was right.
It was until Dave Miller stood in front of Congress and created the housing market crash. One of my best friends cost me $9 million.
Oh, jeez. They told me straight to my face, and I guess it's not like that anymore, but like I said, I was very young when this happened. And she told me, man, I can hear the passion in your voice. I know how hard you're trying. She goes, I gotta cut this short. She goes, you call every day, you do everything right, but we want you to fail, but we get paid 4 times every time someone forecloses, so there's no way you're gonna win this, because we're never gonna give up that money. She told me straight up. And I did give up at that, and I let it go, because she said, we want you to fail. We make more money if you fail.
Look up the MERS patent. See,
Yeah.
MERS took over.
Oh, is
Can you,
that
how do you spell that?
MERS.
Okay.
Okay? You look up, do your research on the MERS Corporation. They have a CEO and no employees. One guy runs MERS. And the MERS patent, through the United States Patent and Trademark Office, is a license to defraud everyone.
Wait, is licensed to,
Defraud everyone. It's the banking, it's the mortgage process. It's fraud. It is patented. So the CEO's job, by the way, he is an attorney. And the CEO's job is anytime a husband and wife goes into court and proves the fraud to the bank, the judge, if he even thinks about siding with them, he's got a lawsuit in the mail of patent infringement on his person. They'll sue that judge so fast, it's not even funny.
you
So
mean
the
on
judge
his-
sides with the
You mean on
bank.
his
So
people?
what stops me from saying I, Lee Jaslingo, claim Mr. MERS trespassed against me by, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Govern our public servants. What stops me from doing that?
he's not a public he's not government, it's a pub,
He's
it's
not,
a
he's a
private
private corporation.
Right,
corporation.
so this is against him privately then. What stops that?
Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, try it.
I don't think anybody's tried it.
That's
Be the
awesome.
first.
Do it. Just do it.
It's a good way to
Nike
get dead, but yeah,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
do it. You know I'll do it.
to get that. Now,
I'm just saying, the whole mortgage industry is a fraud. Dave Miller stood in front of Congress and through proper parsing syntax grammar in 2006 proved that all mortgages were a fraud. And a senator rushed out of the room because his biggest contributor to his campaign was Bank of America. And he ran to Bank of America and he said, this was happening right now. Bank of America wholesale all their higher interest loans to Chase and to Wells Fargo. All of Countrywide's loans to Chase and to Wells Fargo. And Bank of America, and
Did they-
I'll tell you what, they took a lot of shot on the liability for Countrywide, but they didn't lose any money at all. In fact, they made
yeah,
They
isn't
made-
that insider?
they made hundreds of times more money off of it. And they just sold them 50 cents on the dollar.
How did you know it cost you money?
Because I had invested everything I'd owned into real estate. I lost $9 million in real estate between 2007 and 2010.
Did you sell it or how did you lose it?
I thought I was in great shape. I owned 7 businesses. Let's go back to 2005. 2005, I owned 7 businesses. I had $800,000 cash in the bank. I had probably 35 properties that I owned at 40% loan to value or less. 3 of them paid off pretty quick.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay. 2005, I don't know, add it up. It's more than 63. Everything I'd worked for my whole life. Okay. Some of those properties, for instance, I had this entire block inside the city of McMinnville. Old Town building. It was a True Value hardware store on the first floor for over 30 years. Upstairs was a whole bunch of little offices, accountants and lawyers, a couple of, I think a chiropractor, and there was a bunch of little offices upstairs. And when I looked at that building to buy it, I thought, man, that's a great deal. This thing's appraised at $7 million. Well, I could buy it for $5 million. I have 4. I put $4 million cash down. I borrowed $1 million from the bank at $14,000 a month payments. Great buy. It was pulling at about $20,000 a month in rents. I said, great, I'm in good shape. I'll just hang on to this for a long time. Make that extra $4, $5, $6 grand. I held on to it for probably 5 years. He did what he did, the housing market dropped, the whole property was only worth $3.5 million. And all the tenants started over there. And when you look at all the 32 properties I own, it got to the point I was losing $60,000 a month. That's what paying the bank $60,000 a month more than I was bringing in. I was making $100,000 a month, and I went from $100,000 a month income to negative $60,000 a month.
Miller knew these ramifications were gonna happen too.
He didn't even warn me either, son of a buck. And I'm paying all this money out. My $800,000 I had in savings, went like that. It's $60,000. So between 2007 and 2010, the only thing that saved my life was selling my big ranch. I had a 242 acre cattle and hay operation that produced 1,200 tons of hay a year, a couple hundred head of cattle, and ran about 30 head of horses. And then I had the horse ranch, which cost me money.
My dad always worked 2 jobs. When I grew up, he always worked 2 jobs. He had his Carmel Baptist job and then the military, so he was always working 2 jobs when I was growing up to support the family.
Yeah, I've always worked 2 or 3 myself.
Yeah,
So-
he had to.
What happened? I mean, you know how you make a fortune in the horse business?
Oh, yeah.
You start with a large fortune. Okay? So anyway,
Okay, so he did this and it made all this impact, yet it still didn't change it.
it actually did change. It went for the worse.
Yeah.
It did.
Threw it all in.
So he was smart and they got smarter.
Well, they're not dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Dummies. So the lawyers, again, they run the world.
You just got greedy, right?
They run the world. You know, when President Trump signed the executive order asking for we the people's help to make the judicial branch and the administrative branch better and more efficient, Chris Howell took him seriously and went before Congress and said the Bar Association is a monopoly. You need to open the practice law to all of this or close the Bar Association. Of course, they're not going to close the bar because who's Congress? 40% of them today are lawyers. Under Obama, it was 61%. Attorneys, bar members.
Because you're a lawyer.
See, that's why our founding fathers wrote me.
Yeah. Yeah. In Black's Law, you're a lawyer.
A law sayer,
He doesn't, he's not a bar,
a lawyer.
a member of the bar.
Well, no, I said that's attorneys,
Right,
Oh, okay.
not lawyers.
Oh, yeah, attorney.
right. We the people lay down the law.
Yes.
We're all lawyers.
Yes.
Okay. Man, it's hard to stay on track. Anyway, what happened is they gave Chris congressional authority for E-Clause LLC to practice like any other bar member. Now, Chris was already a bar member, but he knows what's right, he knows what's wrong, he knows the Constitution is everything, people mean something, on. So he's a bar rebel.
Wait a second, Chris was an attorney?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was an attorney in loss prevention. That was his specialty.
Oh, okay. Because I knew he did loss prevention, but I didn't know what it was, what that,
He's no longer a bar member. He doesn't have to be.
okay.
Okay. So, anyway, the point of the thing is that opened the practice up to everybody. So now you've got Chris and Kirk Pendergrass and John Gentry, and they're doing their own little thing, their own little show, and they're great guys, and they're smart as all hell, and they're just good people, right? But there's a little problem. None of them are really in a big way, going out there and teaching the people as far as all states. They do their shows, but their shows were mainly on Facebook, and Facebook has a way of limiting everything. Maybe a couple thousand people see what you post on Facebook, if you're lucky. I'm talking about the masses, the 327 million people in the United States, not a couple thousand that see their Facebook shows. For that, it's great. For those that learn about it, it's great. But in a big way, they weren't doing that. So I started helping them in a little bit different fashion. The different fashion is I'm telling the story of Chris to the masses, to every class. And every class I teach, maybe 1,000 people a month. And the difference is, I'm telling people that I'm the teacher teaching the teachers, and now you're going to be the new teachers, see? And you've got to go in front of your own legislatures, and you've got to go and do this stuff, and you've got to make it happen. And the state of Washington put a bill in front of the legislature to abolish the bar as a monopoly in the state of Washington. So see what I mean? I'm kind of excited that other people are standing up
Yeah.
to abolish the bar in the state of Washington and open the practice of law to anyone. Why aren't we doing that in Illinois?
That'll be the
The
last.
home of the bar.
Okay, so if that happens though, you still have to learn, I mean, you still have to pretty much learn all the statutes and rules and codes if you're going
There's
to
got to be
study.
a law sayer. You
Right,
just got to
which
know
ours
the
is a little more,
basics.
yours is a little more simple, which is good. But this whole, how about if we're gonna abolish the bar, let's abolish legalese too? 'Cause that's
Up to this
crap.
point in my life, I do not know how to make it simpler. No, it's not crap. There's a purpose for all of it.
That fact that if we accidentally say, I'm a person and not a people, that they've got us, they've trapped us, that's wrong.
You're right, and we should have learned this in our English and
So
law
now let's
classes in
abolish that too.
kindergarten
That's,
through 12th
that's what I
grade.
mean, that legalese. We should be able to go and claim
So
and
we
then
need-
use whatever verbiage.
So we need to be going after our departments of education to
Yeah.
teach what
Yes,
a child really needs.
yes.
Not this bull crap, common
Core.
core
Crap.
bad history
Yes.
crap, okay?
Yep.
We need to get them to teach the truth, or
Yeah, but the government runs it, they're not going
we
to.
just take our children away from them.
Homeschool them.
Yeah, and I'd much rather see that. Ron Paul's homeschool class. It's certified in all 50 states. Enroll your kids.
Yeah.
You know what parents need to do? Parents need to get with other parents in their neighborhoods and then say, hey, let's take turns being the teacher. We're going to teach this course, the Ron Paul homeschool class. We'll get all 20 of our children in my basement and we'll teach this class. And tomorrow it can be in your basement. Tomorrow it can be in your living room, your family room. And we get together as parents and we just get it done. That's what needs to happen. We just got to get it done.
You're right. We should take that class, just take the class.
True.
Worse stuff that takes you never.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's be homeschooled.
I need to homeschool myself. I need to relearn, unlearn and
Think I
relearn.
Unlearn and relearn.
Nice meeting you.
Well, that's,
See you tomorrow.
guys, see you tomorrow. Well, that's the thing, maybe even in Christian schools or something, having them have a law class for the 7th graders, 6th, 7th.
That's right.
You
The
don't
best
need that, you
class
got the
that I
values
never
there.
had was my law class in my community college. It was incredible.
Superintendent of
I had
schools
so
works
many-
out of the courthouse.
And they work out of each courthouse. The superintendent in each school district is out of each courthouse.
Whoa, what?
I did redneck research on that for Kendall County.
That's terrible.
Almost every county in the United States, the superintendent of schools office is in the courthouse.
It's on purpose. It's indoctrination to teach you to obey authority, to teach you to obey. That's all you learn there.
But
Can I use my penis and pee, please?
it goes back to
You just said
it
that.
goes back to that little story I said about in the Space Needle.
How it's X-rated.
Yeah.
The story I talked about in the Space Needle, that's what it goes back to. See, that's a story that you can take, you can steal. You go repeat it over and over and over again. It's a very, very powerful story. You see all these corporations out here? Boeing, Amazon, Microsoft, some of the largest corporations in the world. And then there's mom and pops. And who runs them? Well, the CEO. No CEO does anything. Not one of their forms did the CEO write. Everything that the company does is ran by us, legal department, the attorneys.
I hear that twice a day. Have you read it past legal? Twice a day.
Yeah.
They are smart, they own nothing but control everything.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can go back and, since they weren't supposed to hold any position, any public offices, is there a way we can go back and abolish them all out of a public office?
Two professions God warned us about in the Bible: bankers and attorneys. The bankers control the money, and the attorneys control they're the army of the bankers. They control the business.
What about this title of nobility and not holding office? Though?
Exactly. Why can't we challenge that?
We have to see that.
Challenge that and flip them all out of office.
As soon
They
as you
can't
have your
public
bar
office.
card,
Let's
your title
do
of
it.
nobility.
Exactly. Let's get them out of office. I'm up for battle. We'll probably live about, what, 2 weeks?
They abolished Ma Bell because Ma Bell became a monopoly. They broke it all up. Why are we breaking up the bar? See, the bar says, it'll tell you this. Oh, we broke ourselves up. We have the Bar Association of Oregon. We got the Bar Association of Southern Oregon. We got the Bar Association of Pacific Northwest.
Is it
We got
British?
the Bar
Hey,
Association.
Is it British registration?
Accredited
Accreditation
registry.
Registry.
Yeah.
We have the American Bar Association, based out of Chicago, that
So-
overrides it all and writes the ABA Journal.
So since Trump is not a lawyer, would they back all the way to Supreme Court right now while he's in,
If we
getting
can come
rid
up with a
of
good alternative,
lawyers being, well, we're gonna rerun, let's rerun, but no lawyers. No lawyers. But now we know anybody can operate in court, so the lawyers still will operate in court. But if they can't hold public office, we'll just have re-elections. That's an easy alternative.
that's how you do it. You educate the people, and if they are a bar member, you vote for the other guy. You see what I mean? Regardless of party. See, I look at the people running. Okay, let's just say 2 people are running for office, one Democrat, one Republican. I'm a Republican. Well, my Republican candidate is a bar lawyer, I'm voting for the other guy.
That makes sense, yeah.
That's how I feel about it. That's how
Yeah, but if it's
strongly
against our
I feel
Constitution,
about it.
then is it the Constitution that it's against?
For
The Title of Nobility Act
nobility.
was, I don't know, is it?
In today's
If it
world,
was
it doesn't
before-
exist, unfortunately. Even though people proved that it was truly ratified, Virginia ratified it, they hit it. Do you know they burned 7 museums down in the same day?
Right, but do we still have
To hide
documents of
that
it?
fact.
But it still exists.
No, it still
If it
exists.
still exists, then,
You know, in the state of Pennsylvania, a few weeks back, they were selling a painting at auction, and they turned the painting around, and stuffed on the backside of the canvas was one of the original 17 handwritten copies of the Declaration of Independence. And the guy that got that painting made $2.6 million off the Declaration.
Wow.
Yeah,
Where was this? In
a
Philadelphia.
home in Pennsylvania. There was a painting that went up for auction, and they turned it around, and on the backside of the painting, in the canvas, at the back of the canvas, was an original Declaration of Independence. There was only 17 handwritten copies, and it was one of them.
and they
Do you
knew
know
this
where?
before they,
Where?
it was only
You
2
can look
point
it up.
something million?
Yeah.
You'd think it'd go for a
They
trillion.
got $2.6 million for
How
that.
they
It's a
prove
copy.
that? How could you prove?
No, they said it was
Imagine
an
that.
original 17.
The original copy, yeah.
Oh, an original copy.
Any historian will know if it's one of the originals.
So how many
Wow.
are left? 10 left? 7 left?
Well, I think it's only like 6. 6 left.
I just think if we bring up all the control and the bad laws that's been created since Congress hasn't been able to make any laws, and we bring up all the stuff that's happened since Abe Lincoln and all the truth, open the people's eyes a little bit, I can't see how they wouldn't agree that we have to go back to that. Throw all that law out.
You'd be surprised.
I'd agree.
You'd be surprised how many people, especially in this big city
'Cause
over
nobody
here,
knows.
love it the way it is.
Of course.
City people.
No, let's just give them all guns. Let's give everybody guns, because then they'll shoot all each other, they'll all be dead, we don't have to worry about it.
They have plenty.
No, give them all guns, all, and just let's go on vacation for a couple weeks and they'll be dead.
I think it would make it, I think it would reduce
All
crime
the
to
gangs,
nothing
let's
and
give them
they'd be
guns.
better off.
And then all go out to,
Actually,
be what?
it's a proven fact that it reduces crime when people are armed.
They'll all just do each other in. That's my point. The gangs,
Well, they're doing that now.
give them guns and then we'll just stay away
I
from
read an
it.
article about
They don't
that.
have guns right now.
I know, but give like the mamas and the papas and the other kids too, and hopefully they'll
I
all
talked to
just
people
kill
on the
the
south
bad
side
guys.
and they
Why
said there's
don't you
pallets
just
of
give
guns.
every police officer an all expense paid vacation to Hawaii, send them away for a
And
while,
tell the
then let the
gangs.
gangs shoot each other up while they're all on vacation.
Right?
Switzerland, everyone owns guns. You have to be in the military.
Yeah.
Swiss. So everyone knows how to shoot a gun.
And their
Most
crime
people
rate's
don't
one of the
shoot.
lowest in the world.
Yep.
Right.
Because most of them go through the military and they can keep their gun after they go through the military if they want. So most people keep their gun.
Right.
So most people are gun owners.
In China, no one has guns, not even the police.
There's a bunch of little guys.
Not even the police.
Probably all
Because they don't trust
on
their
the-
police, not to turn into our police.
Because
They all know
you commit a
hand-to-hand
crime in
combat.
China, 25 Chinamen tackle you, beat you up.
So I was gonna say, they know
They're
hand-to-hand
police.
combat.
Is anything more happening with this red flag thing? I haven't looked at anything about the days. They said,
Shall not be infringed. Everything they do will be thrown out. Everything.
but have they been confiscating openly again in the past couple of days? I don't know, they may.
Some places here and there,
What are we talking about?
guys.
Who's, what,
Red flag laws and guns.
where,
You
when?
can sit closer to you.
The law they want is that I can say, you're crazy and you have a gun and I think you need a psych eval and you get swatted and they come take your
They
guns.
They take them immediately.
So that means
Anyone
every
can
ex
call.
in the world is gonna call the
Right.
cops on their ex.
Right.
And their
And-
definition
Did
of
this just go into law with our stupid
family
governor, or is it,
It won't happen. It'll be a civil war.
I have a question, how can someone say that someone is outside of college? And how does it hold up?
Never gets there.
Just going through that right now in the state of New York. This man never even had a hearing. He walked in front of the judge. They said his name. He said, "That's not my name. My name is this." And he gave his whole name. And I think they asked him like one other question. I don't know what it was. And they said, "The first thing we're going to do is order a psyche." They ordered a psych eval, and the psych eval came back clear. He was competent to stand trial. The judge didn't like that psych eval, so ordered another. That psych eval, the second one, came back that they asked him a whole bunch of political and legal questions that I would have answered exactly like he answered. Are you a person? No. All kinds of questions just like that. They found him delusional, psychotic, and they put him in Mid-Hudson maximum security forensic hospital in New York. No trial, no nothing.
Their defense against us right now is a psych eval right off the bat, and they're also saying, it's not just a psych eval, it's also paper terrorism.
On Wednesday, I got him out, but he gets out next Friday. He called me while we were at lunch. That's the call I took while I walked out. He's getting out next Friday. He's got his paper in his hands. I'm out of here next Friday. He goes back to county court so he can actually be heard, but he's out of the
how did you get
mental
him out?
hospital.
If he knows you, and he's a savvy fellow, why did he volunteer to give them information to use against him?
He didn't give him any information.
By taking the psych eval is giving them information to use against.
That's right, but he,
You can't refuse it. You're in court.
yeah, you can't refuse. He didn't know anything. He just answered questions.
So is that a good idea? You should.
One of the problems with Fred, and I love Fred to death, but Fred's very arrogant, and I'll tell you why he's arrogant. He deserves to a point. He was in the Navy. He was a fighter pilot for the A-70. When he was an ensign, he was awarded from the Tailhook Symposium the most aircraft carrier landings of any ensign in the United States Navy. He was the youngest person to get Q qualified. Q qualified means he can carry a nuclear weapon. At any given moment in history, there's only 200 people in the United States Navy who is authorized to carry a nuclear weapon on a border float. 200. Fred was one. Okay? He's got a degree in physics. His IQ's really high, higher than his. He's smart as a whip, but he's a little bit strong and arrogant when it comes to dealing with our business. This business, you got to treat people nicely as your neighbor. They have the force and effect. You have to overcome that force and effect. How you overcome it is by evading them on every subject. And it's really easy if you stick with the basics of law. Just requires the 1 + 1 is 2. See, they jump right into alphabet. They fail when it comes to 1 + 1 is 2. They can't answer those questions. I took 6 attorneys with me in a vehicle, an SUV, and we went to 2 law schools. Lewis and Clark Law School in Portland, Willamette University of Law in Salem. And in one day we went to 2 law schools. I wanted to prove a point to these 6 attorneys. So we went to these law schools, we sat down with the administration, and I said, I'd like to make a late in life career change and become a lawyer. What classes do I need to take to get my degree in the law and to pass the law? They said, you can get your law degree in 3 years. 3 years. Here's your classes. I gathered them up, we went to the next law school, did the same exact thing. Gathered them up, we went to a restaurant. 5 hours in a restaurant, we analyzed every class. And like any college, 30% of the classes you have to take are electives. That's the only place you'll find a Constitutional 101 class is an elective. You don't necessarily have to take them. In the classes that are required, they learn policy and procedures. The rules of civil procedure, the rules of criminal procedure. They learn how to remain in honor and not dishonor. They learn language, writing skills. How to be a good writer, a good secretary. They learn all these things, how to look stuff up on Westlaw. I asked these lawyers, I said, where's the class on the United States Code? Where's the class on the UCC? Where's the class on the Internal Revenue Service Code? Where's the class on our constitutions and our treaties? Where's the class on? And I just went on and on and on. You don't need to learn the law to be a lawyer. A lot of the classes were just on how to pass the bar exam.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need to learn what this man knows to become a doctor. Ask your physician how much he knows about that medicine he just prescribed. He knows nothing about it, except what the salesman told him when she came in. Okay. So what I'm telling you is lawyers do not learn the law. And if they don't go to work immediately for a big law firm, they go and they rent an office space and they hang out a shingle and mom and pop walk through the door for their free half-hour or 1-hour consultation, and he listens to their story. And then he waits till they drive out. Sees them driving out of the parking lot. Okay, they're heading down the road. Okay, now he turns to his paralegal and he says, will you look up all the case law that pertains to this subject? And he sits down at his computer and he becomes a good writer and a good secretary. He's taught how to write proper form. And he knows how many days he has to file. And he submits. He learns the law a little bit over time. He didn't learn it in school.
No, it's basically a problem solving school, it's all about safety and not about.
Right.
That's what the whole test is. They-
Driver's training, you've got to
Yeah,
go
same
in
thing.
already knowing how to drive.
Yeah.
Right,
That's, yeah.
right,
It's everything's like that.
Right.
Everything is bullshit.
that's right.
And you have to
Certificate.
learn the real when you're out in the field.
Yeah, it's the icing on the cake, and they didn't tell you how to make the cake in the first place. And that's what it is. So the stuff I teach, not one of them knows. When
At
I
least you have a
stand,
student loan.
when I stand up in court,
What did you say?
At least you have a student loan when it's over.
Yeah. No, not mine, not mine, she didn't.
so when I stand up in court and I ask over 250 times, maybe closer to 300, I lost track a long time ago how many times. What is the law? Where does origins come from? How do we arrive at this thing called law that says the same thing over and over and over again? And I get, maybe out of the 250 times, I get 200 lame-ass answers and 50 that don't answer at all.
Yeah, I believe it. They don't know.
No,
So
What
when they
does that
give
have to do with the price of tea today?
they're compartmentalized.
So when they give you a lame answer, then you rebut it and correct them how
That
they're
gives
not-
me the
not correct.
opportunity.
If you don't rebut it, then that's truth.
That's right, but it gives me the opportunity, see, it opened the door, they got the chance to answer. Every time they ask us something and we answer, they can respond to our answer. Every time we ask them something and they answer, we can respond to their answers. So then you just hold up your hand and say, hold on a minute, I might just be a dumb farm boy from Middletown, Oregon. My comprehension is that in Genesis 1:26, I was taught in Sunday school that God gave me dominion over the land, air, and water, see?
Then they're gonna say
And
that's
I
the
go
Bible.
through that, and I go through, no, they don't.
Well, I'm
They
guessing
can't
that's what their
refute it.
answer would be.
It's the truth, they can't refute it, okay? And then you go through jurisdiction. Now all of a sudden, you've nailed it down to contract law. Now, bring forth the contract, here's the other. You won. You can win in court that easily.
Yeah.
Yep. As long as you appear by special appearance, you know your status in your jurisdiction.
So what about electronic signature? We talked about late signatures a lot. Is an electronic signature a late signature?
The contract's supposed to be two wedding signatures on two like-kind individuals. In other words, a man and a man, or a person and a person.
Do I not have any contracts with the court then?
You're a man.
I know.
They're not a man.
Women are mankind,
No, I know, and they're not,
right?
but I don't.
As soon as you prove your status.
So my question is, and this is maybe what we'll talk about later too, is, so I had this judgment, I already went through it, already got a judgment, I'm the one that brought it, because I asked for the divorce 16 years ago. And so I have this judgment that I owe this money that I cannot pay. So now I found this is all fraud. So instead of doing the trying to go the void judgment route, why can't I walk in and just declare this is all fraud, void judgment? Now we need to start over, plus give them an arrow of arbitration on the court to settle it once and for all.
As long as you can prove it, you can do that.
Prove what?
That it's all fraud.
Well, it is fraud because I didn't know I was in their jurisdiction, and that, right? Now I know about the jurisdictions. I didn't know that they pulled me under their boat.
It's hard after the fact. The harder they've got their grip on you, the
Yeah.
harder it is. Possession's 90% of law. That's what they say. So the harder they've got
Well, you said you can prove fraud at any time. You can challenge
you can
jurisdiction at any
challenge
time. So
jurisdiction,
then,
you
why
can challenge
can't I?
fraud. Do it. Go for it, girl. Just do
But
it.
in my
Thank you, Ray.
shoes, but
You
in
said that.
my, but I already have my void judgment drawn up on their vote. So what would you do if you were me?
I don't know. I'd have to see every document you've had from the beginning, every court transcript before I
You'd be
make a
reading an
decision.
awful lot.
Yeah, I know, I'm sure. So I can't tell you what to do.